Welcome back to the Humanities, the 85th episode. 85 of these. Can you imagine such a thing?
Is it really?
Who are you?
I'm Paddy. Hi. I'm one of them that doesn't know anything about the show, apparently. Who are you?
I am Coffee Jesus, your rightful leader.
I'm glad.
So, we tried to do something a little bit different this time. It's been kind of on the cards probably for as long as we've known each other, but we've never really put it out there, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because whilst we don't watch the same stuff or consume the same stuff, which is kind of neat because we get to talk about it together when something awesome arrives and rises for us each. There's kind of crossover in the stuff that we like. There's certain aspects that thrill us in the stuff that we watch. And the catalyst of this was we had a conversation the other day, and you were saying, you know, I'm sick of super serious superheroes.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, no, like you say, yeah, we like similar stuff, but not the same stuff. And yeah, I think, what was it? I think it was just a load of trailers have been coming out. And someone was talking to me at work about Avengers stuff, and I just looked at those trailers, and my brain just checks out. Can't be bothered.
No, I've not seen Endgame yet. I'm hoping to see it this weekend because I don't sort of go to the cinema that much. But a lot of what seems to be super popular in the cinemas, and you know, like superheroes are a huge thing now. Are as bright and as imaginative as they are, they seem to be trying to always rationalize themselves in reality, and they have billion-dollar budgets, and as much as I enjoy them, there's one of the reasons that I glued on to Japanese superheroes was because there's something very kind of loose and honest about it, and you know, characters will do big monologues, or there'll be degrees of physical comedy, or things will go wrong, there's a level of heart there that feels the way that I felt reading comics as a kid. And I think that really sort of, I suppose on the one hand you could call it goofiness, but on the other, just like anything goes, it's kind of been lost to sort of $500 million explosions. And
Do you wonder that if this sort of thing was done in a Western market, it'd be considered corny, maybe? Because that's not what's cool anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it would be, but I think that's what the populace would decide it was, possibly.
I think the crossover is in... I think there's probably a little bit of a reach with the original Deadpool, because it kind of did something a little bit different with you know, the audience. But I also think that maybe anime is a crossover in itself, because there's a lot of physical reactions in a lot of this stuff, which you know, actual physical comedy is an art, and to be able to pull it off within you know, more serious aspects, or you know, it throws the audience a loop, and it's hard to do, and I quite like it, and so I think that would maybe be a connection in itself, but putting it in front of that audience and just letting them decide, because there may well be a lot of people that are like you and I, that you know, just you know, I see all that money on the screen. I admire it. Everybody's into this stuff now, but there's something I quite love about these Japanese superhero shows that do what they do for, like, God, I'm sure somebody said to me a while ago that even Marvel Television, which has been on Netflix, you know, your Daredevils, your Punishers and stuff, which to me is the least ambitious that you could ever be with a superhero property. As mundane as balls as you can be with a superhero property, that those are about $1.5 to $2 million an episode.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's just like the camera crews or the money that they're spending or whatever, but like these, I'm sure when I had a conversation with a guy who's worked with the stunt team on Garrow, and I asked him about the budgets, and he said that like a Kamen Rider episode would be, I'm sure he said something like the equivalent of $200,000, and that Garrow was double that, maybe more. But when you see the comparison, you go like, oh, okay. And you know, these folks are not making 8 to 10 episodes. They're doing 48 episodes in a year and a few movies.
That's a lot of content.
It is. And you know, they're doing it weekly, which is fantastic. And obviously we're going to dive into something that's new for the two of us, but there's something kind of this real spontaneity about watching them, that they maybe not got a lot of time to do stuff, and yet the things that they achieve in that small space of time, you get the feeling that there are stunt teams that just go, I could jump off that roller coaster. And they do. And you get the feeling that the people involved love doing what they do, and that's why they keep on doing it. And that, to me, that comes through in the stuff that I've really, really glued onto these last few years. So that's probably jumping the gun a wee bit, but what we're doing is we decided to have a little bit of a swap. So we've had essentially 45 minutes of one another's time.
Which was originally slated to be 22 minutes.
But he threw me a loop and I threw him one back, as we will explain. But yeah, so I've invited my friend Paddy, who loves his JoJo's and loves his animes and likes his comedies, and I've invited him into the world of Tokusatsu.
Yeah.
And in turn, Pat has taken my broadening love of K-pop and J-pop and good heart, like loads of stories with lots of heart and emotion and stuff.
Wholesome ass shit.
Yeah, and he's invited me into the world of an idol anime. So when this was on the cards, it was like, because we were doing something else today, and this one just seemed like, this is going to be fun. We'll do this. And again, there's quite a lot of spontaneity in where we sort of packed in the viewings in a small space of time and just sort of went for it.
And I will say, I've had to watch the thing that you have sent me 2 times because I started to write notes the first time. I was like, put this down. I want to watch this and I'll write notes later.
This makes me very happy.
Yeah, I actually physically put my pad down and went, no, I'll do this later. Because
there's a level of heart in turn that comes back around for this, where there was no way that I was going to stop watching at the point where it originally looked like I was supposed to stop watching. So yeah, it's quite exciting. It's making me grin thinking about this.
I think, as the internet says, got him.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So, and I know you were, when we were talking about your choice for this, you kind of hadn't realised that I'd seen a bit of JoJo and stuff.
How has my brain forgotten that? I must have, in the last month, just gone to shit. I mean, for those who don't, because it's been a while since we recorded anything, I moved house since the last time we recorded. I'm in the new digs, and it's fun. It's different. But since then, I've forgotten vast swathes of things. That being apparently one of them.
I don't think I've picked up on it in certain shows and a decent amount of reference of JoJo. But I remember when that was first there, you were like, I don't know how I'd take it if you didn't like it. I was like, I do like it, Pad. I really like it. It's just that, some personal stuff happened around about the time, and I was watching it with Noble Peter, and we couldn't really sort of continue for a while because he wasn't very well. So yeah. So how did you feel going into this with the swapsies, and also your choice of show? We can probably bring up later because we'll get there. Yeah, what did you feel about the
it wasn't initially a swapsies, was it? You just said, I've chucked something on the drive I think you'll enjoy. the shared Google Drive where we bung up the audio files from the podcast and stuff. I think you just said, I've chucked something up. And it was like, maybe you can send me something later if you want. And I didn't really think much more of it until after I'd watched it, to be honest. But yeah, obviously we've talked about Tokusatsu, or you've talked about it a lot, and I've listened a lot. That's not unfair to say. That's what actually happens. Yeah. You've talked about it a lot. And it's one of those things that I've always it's been on the edge, but I think not having access to it easily on my telly makes it harder to get into things like this, because I think I've progressed past the point where I'm going to sit down and download something on Kazaa or LimeWire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not doing it by things like that, but
yeah, but like I that's how I used to get hold of things that were hard to get hold of, and I just don't use the computer for that anymore. Netflix and Crunchy are usually more than enough, and that's why I've kind of fallen into the vast amount of anime that has happened to me this year. Just so many things I wouldn't have expected I'd be watching, but I thought, I'll try that out. Yeah. But I think for a while, Crunchy only put a couple of seasons of Ultraman up on there and a few other things, but that was about it. They haven't put anything live action up there in about a year.
Well, I mean,
also, I think, yeah.
Crunchyroll, a good few years ago now, probably 5 years ago now, was the point where I got into Tokusatsu through Ultraman X.
That was it. Yeah, there we go.
I went in completely blind. I'm just thinking, like, ignorantly thinking, oh, you know, this'll be a bit rubbish, but it'll be a bit of a laugh. And I ended up watching the first episode and going, huh.
Do you know what? That's what a lot of anime happens to me. This will probably be rubbish, but a laugh, and then you're stuck.
Yeah, and you know, there's lots of things that I can kind of plug into there now with just the sheer appreciation of practical effects. Because I a few weeks ago I showed you a fight from the latest Ultraman. From Ultraman Tiger, and the Ultraman Tiger's just got the biggest sets I've ever seen in an Ultraman show, where there are they take shots from inside houses that have got full tables with like coffees on the table, and like these streets with bikes on, and you'll see trains, like model trains go past, and you'll see a guy in a suit fight a monster within a built city that's genuinely got so much depth to it. But when the monster knocks him back, and it literally is a bloke falling into a model building that's being detonated as he falls into it, like the makers were all saying, like, we know that you know that it's not real, but we really want you to appreciate the craft that we've put into doing this. And that's part of the joy. Like, there'll be bits where sort of Noble Peter and I will be sitting on the couch, and we'll see like Ultraman fall into a building that's been detonated. We'll both go like, "Ooh!" And that give me that over like CG any day of the week. But I sort of nudged that towards you, and I was like, "Look at this fight sequence. It's really good. It's really good fun. This is what's going on in Ultraman at the minute."
But I think what you used to get out of that is what I, up until recent anyway, used to get out of wrestling.
100. That's one of the connections that when you said it to me afterwards, I was like, oh my god, because like Ultraman has always really been like a man wrestling a monster, and literally with the weight and physicality of somebody wrestling. And you can even take that back to the original Ultraman in the 50s, where there was, you know, no CG, no effects like that. It was literally a man wrestling a monster. And I think that there's something that kids glue onto with that, whereby, you know, can have a fight with my mates, and you can be this monster and I'll be Ultraman, or, you know. It's a bit easier to play out in the garden than it is to be flying through space with CG. It's very hard to put yourself in those shoes, whereas I think as a boy fighting a boy, you can do that. Obviously, don't try this at home, but you can do that. There was even, as like a weird side, there was even a thing a few years ago when one of the Ultraman movies was coming out, and a director did a half-an-hour video on YouTube for kids showing them how to make an Ultraman show. Oh, that's cool. And they were doing the thing like, well, you know, if you are in the garden and you hold the camera up at this angle, you can make plants look like trees and you seem really, really tall. And like he was basically running them through how they shot Ultraman. And for a little kid like that, it's going to be amazing because you're going to get little kids that are filming fights with their mates. and trying to make them look as good as possible and putting little toy cars in there and stuff. But also, you're going to get a generation of filmmakers out of that.
You realise now that what you've just said there, you know those words you've just said in the last minute. The next time we have a bro down, you know we're doing that, right?
Oh God, that'd be awesome.
We're going to get some cardboard and some boxes and some fucking sticky back plastic and some coloured pens.
Oh, it makes me
and
happy.
a GoPro, and we're going to have ourselves a weekend.
See, that's just... it's a date. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted about
to cycle back around. So that's kind of like, I mean, that's where I always had, like, I always saw the connections was, two boys having a lovely big scrap, and it's all big and it's larger than life, and there's comedy and there's tragedy and there's moments where you jump out your seat, you're like, oh no.
Yes,
I would say
exactly
that recently that wrestling is what filled that gap for me. I think that's probably why I didn't jump onto any of this stuff earlier, because I've got something for that. I've got my boys throwing boys around. I think
also,
recently,
we've got a distance, and we have a conversation. There's an understanding between us that of the things that do cross over thematically, but we're always sort of excited to talk to each other about the specifics of what's moving us in general.
Yeah, but I would say like the last, I don't know, couple of months or so, I'm kind of drifting away from the wrestling. I've realised that I'm on the back of a downswing again for it. I watch bits and bobs here and there, but I'm not keeping up with it anymore. I'm just watching odd bits that come up on YouTube when they do and going, oh, he lifted a big boy up, didn't he? And then getting on with my day. So I think I do have space in my life for something big and colourful and interesting again. And I don't know, maybe the fact that it was, like you say, 48 episode series is... That can be quite intimidating, maybe as a start. Like, can I fit all that in? Like, that's a lot of telly to fit in. I know that's a stupid thing to say, being a man of leisure such as myself. But I've got a lot going on, as you do. We've both got weird schedules now. My schedule's due to get much weirder in the next month or two.
I think there is the other side of it, though. That if a show doesn't grab your interests, that speaking personally in this regard, that. Last year's Kamen Rider didn't really click with me, and there's a certain point where you give it, you're all, you give it a little bit of momentum, but it's easy to fall away, and especially when there are that many episodes that are incoming, you kind of go, right, next year's then maybe. Yeah,
me and Laura have had this. We'll try animes out, quite a lot of them on Crunchyroll and stuff, or we'll try things on Netflix, and we'll get couple of episodes in, and if one of us is enjoying it, the other one isn't, it's like, all right, I'll watch this by myself then. What's the one we're watching at the minute? I am now watching it at the minute. The offshoot series of Kaiji, Mr. Tonegawa Middle Management Blues, which is about one of the bad guys from Kaiji setting up the kind of the big sort of gambling game, or the gambling death game, before it all happens. And it's just basically him having problems managing a load of men who he can't remember their names. And they all seem to like the same thing. They all like bowling. And he's having I don't know who any of these people are. I keep saying their names and getting them wrong, and I'm losing it. And we have to come up with a cool idea for a death game, and these are all trash. And I thought it was really funny. I was enjoying it. And Laura was like, nah, not for me. So, again, I stick it on the paddy pile, and she watches her Netflix crime shows on her Laura pile, and it's fine. It's important not to force things. There's no point in sitting there and forcing yourself through 40 episodes of something that you're not really into.
But...
you'll just resent it.
On the other side of it, when, say... I mean, like, Ultraman always sort of 24 episodes. But when a series clicks with you, like Kamen Rider Build the year before last had 48 episodes and a number of movies. Every one of those episodes was good. And every one of them literally was just like turning the screw tighter and tighter. And it was getting towards the final episodes. I had no idea how they were going to win. I love that. And when there is a show where you just go, like, every week, it's like, I can't wait for that to hit the subsides. That's a wonderful feeling. And so there's the two sides to it. It depends on what clicks with you and stuff. But
absolutely,
when there is a favourite there, they become a favourite boy.
I can see that. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a time for a new Kamen Rider this week, and the latest Kamen Rider is Kamen Rider Zero-One. Now, this is the first of this era, because there's the presidential eras in Japan.
Okay. So I was like, yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
And this is the first of the new ones, if you will, because Kamen Rideo Zero from last year was kind of almost like a bit of an anniversary show with all of the riders from the last 10, 20 years, maybe, like all sort of coming in and or various characters coming in and doing little cameos and having their own episodes, all that kind of stuff. So I watched this, and there were you were on my mind at certain points, and I was like, this probably might like a bit of a watch of this, at least to see kind of the sort of stuff firsthand that I've been watching. And so yeah, I popped that across. So just to give sort of folks a little bit of a backstory for this one, I guess. We've discussed a lot naturally of the notes that I've already put in here. So Kamen Rideo Zero-One, it's got a new lead suit actor, because the previous lead suit actor had done pretty much the previous presidential era, playing the inside the suits of all the previous leads, which is interesting. Yeah. Every single year he'd done sort of the lead, but had different physicality, a different way of fighting, all that kind of stuff. So they've got the director of Lupin Ranger versus Patch Rangers, so they've got a Super Sentai director that was coming on it. And from the initial preview video, which I may or may not have watched 1,000,000 times before the show came on, I kind of got a feel for it, but it was. If anything, it was purely for this robotic line during the transformation, which was like, a jump to the sky turns to a rider kick. And I went, what is that? And this part of my brain just goes like, you could have that as a text noise. No, that would ruin it. Oh my God, you're gonna be freaking out every single episode when that comes on. I'm like, yes! So, to preview the episode as I watched it, I thought episode 1 was as dark and as it was kind of quirky and funny. It introduces us to a company called Hidden Intelligence, who work on human-like androids designed to replace us. We're introduced to Arto, a young comedian getting no audience at a theme park, who is soon replaced by a comedy android, which then receives a rapturous reception. Lurking behind the scenes is a group of people looking to expand beyond the human control, to give the androids... Well, they say give the androids sentience, but it seems to be taking over them and using them to destroy the human race. Arto is met by a cute young android, inviting him to Hidden Intelligence, where it's revealed that his grandpa has just passed away and has left the company to him, much to the previous number 2's disgust. But
amazing facial expressions from number 2, I must say. Yes,
there's a lot. I love the physical acting, especially when the kind of the cameras do like the fisheye lens as well at times. Yep. So Arto doesn't want any of it. It's his dream to make people smile. Returning to the park, which I think is called Chuckle Land, which may be
Chuckle Smile Land, I think.
There we go. So he notices his replacement has been taken over by the baddies and is trying to destroy the audience. It's in this instance that Arto accepts the Zero-One driver. He puts on the belt, and his consciousness is beamed aboard a satellite orbiting the Earth, where he's told he will die in 5 seconds of real-world time and has to learn the manual. So Arto beams down, he launches the driver, which is by taking this cassette and locking it in, and the sound is just... Hold on, let me see if I can find... Oh, here we go.
Jump! Authorize. Prog rise! Torpedo rise! Rising hopper!
A jump to the sky turns to a rider kick.
I love how much that sounds like a fucking PS2 game.
It's 100%, and like I've actually seen the toy working as well, which is looks exactly the same as the thing on the telly, which I think is great. But I've seen the toy working, and part of me is just going like, if you got that in your house, no one would have to know. At this point, a massive electronic grasshopper appears and bounces around, deflecting all the bullets that are being fired at it. Until R2 cries, "Henshin!" And the grasshopper jumps towards him, forming the armor around him, which is so very cool. And also, I've forgotten the fact that the comedy android that was taken over turns into like a massive praying mantis with swords on its arms.
Yep. Some sort of, mantis boy.
So by accepting the driver, Arto's informed that he's essentially accepted the role of heading the company, but he's still determined to bring smiles to the faces of the people. There's a really big fight sequence in there with Arto and the praying mantis creature and loads of these android robot things, and there's a sort of B plot that's coming in with a couple of policemen that are trying to hunt down the androids as well, one of which grabs a very special gun, seemingly. And for me, the risks taken, the doofiness, the quirks, there's moments that make me misty-eyed, make me smile. I watched it as soon as it hit my subsite, and then I put a few thoughts down, and I put it on the G Drive for you, and I've watched it a good few times since. And I was just kind of curious to see what you thought of it, how you handle like the comedy and the fight sequences and all that sort of stuff. So
I like you mentioned comedy. I like that. That's a really good in for me, because like the show is funny. I enjoyed the show. I was laughing along with Aruto. I think he's cool. It has reaffirmed my position that I do not understand traditional Japanese comedy, though. Because all of the comedians on stage didn't do anything I would remark as funny, but everyone was pissing themselves. Maybe it's a wordplay thing. Maybe the language doesn't translate as well. But I'm just sitting there going, he's got a ruler in his tie. Why is that funny?
Yeah, I agree on that.
And I've seen several things in the past of that where just like it's like, is this funny? Is this just not translating? Is this like a really clever play on words that we don't get? But it's fine. I accept that. It's okay. I didn't expect to get the comedy stuff. But like the actual comedy that happened in the show, you know, with the, as we were talking about earlier, the physical comedy, when the girl that turns up to tell him that she has to come with him says, "Oh, your show sucks." It cuts back and he's on the floor like, "I'm sorry."
There's some stuff earlier where he's told about. I think it's when he's told that he's not funny and he's been replaced by an android, and he's like, "Huh?" And it's like a fisheye lens, and you can see sort of his nose towards the front, and then the rest of him spreading out. And even when he's told that, you see him fall on the floor, like down to his knees, where he's wearing the big glittery suit with the massive red bow tie.
Yep.
And there's other bits as well, like where when you first introduced to him, he's riding his bike and stuff. After the big intro that's setting up hidden intelligence and what's actually happened and stuff, he's late to go to Chuckle Smile Land, and do his thing.
I like that. I enjoyed the kind of the balance of that. It's like the kind of the big cool intro. With the guy introducing, here are my Humor Gear robots, and then within 5 seconds, like, and he's dead now. Like, oh no. And then, now look at this chuckle fuck who can't set alarms. I kind of felt for him. Like, I've got a volunteer at my shop called Tom who says exactly the same thing. I set 4 alarms and I slept through all of them. I was like, oh my god, Tom's in this.
But the clip that it moves along with, like within the 22 minutes, it does a lot within that time.
Oh yeah, I wrote that down actually. That's paced like really, really well. Like it gets a lot of the backstory stuff, a lot of the character building stuff, a lot of the relationships are kind of in there already. I like that we're given.
It's not afraid to do jump cuts with the comedy in the same way as you would get in like an anime as well, where it'll there'll be a cut to somebody being on the floor and like a or
like a sort of noise as they do. Nani? I did enjoy to drift away from the comedy. I did enjoy the layers of the backstory stuff going on with the bad guys. How you kind of get a few hints as to what might be going on. There's a big circular like drowned ruined city. It seems
Yeah,
where these bad guys are hanging out, and some dark shit happened there, and there's some like robot remains underneath.
Also, there's something that the policeman that grabs the special gun says about history can't repeat itself twice. At a certain point, and the place that they're at doesn't. There's like a blinking light that doesn't seem a million miles away from the satellite that's in orbit.
Yeah,
that R2 goes to get his powers.
Or, you say that. I saw that light as like a skull shape.
Oh, okay,
but I could see where you're coming from. That could be a big one as well. That's interesting. I saw that as like a Terminator head. Oh, yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, there's it could go a few different ways on that.
But I like that it's open. They're kind of hinting at some stuff, but it's enough to kind of get us attracted. Not like, hey, here's this super guy. Next week's problem. But there's already the main plot is already now clipping along in the background, which is kind of cool. And it's given me an in, as opposed to some shows which kind of do their first episode as kind of like here's like a vertical slice of what the show is, and you just come to the end like, I don't understand why they wouldn't start at point one. What was it I watched? Well, I watched one like that, and the first episode was just like a random adventure, and it wasn't that interesting. It's like, well, I don't understand why I care yet, and it took until like the third or fourth episode of it. It was like a sword and sorcery type thing, and I think I drifted on it eventually anyway, but it didn't start the real plot until the third episode. I
think the thing that it does well in this episode is that it lets you laugh with Arto before throwing him to the wolves. And the point where he picks himself up and he's been knocked about by that kind of mantis creature whilst trying to stop people from getting hurt, and when he picks himself up and he delivers that monologue, like dead on serious, like brilliantly acted, and he's saying like, you don't realise, you don't get to stomp on like people's dreams are important and stuff. And I'm sure some people would look at that and just go, that's a really corny line. For me, my eyes missed it up, like I bunched up a fist and I was like, give him the thing.
Yeah, put on the thing now and be the cool. You are now the president. With that speech, you have become the president. That's how you do it. I like that they let him. You get hints of like he's got more going on than he's just a goofy comedian boy. Even as when they try and make him the president of the company, and he says, "Nah." You see
that there's that moment where you were saying about the physical reaction, but everybody in the boardroom just goes, "Oh!" and just like points their finger at him and stuff. Like,
how dare you? He's like, "Yes, because I wrote this. Yeah, this was me." But yeah, when the sort of the turn happens, sort of halfway through, and he acquires the belt and becomes, he goes into the Matrix to learn how to be henshin. That was cool. I really like that. Did you like
that the first ever superhero to debut wearing a hoodie with corned beef on it?
I have written down corned beef hoodie on my notes. I'm a big fan of corned beef hoodie.
Do you know there's a news piece on Tokusatsu Network this week that Premium Bandai are going to be making the corned beef hoodie because the demand's been there for it.
Now, that right there, that is the kind of subtle merchandise that I will gladly wear upon my body. I would not wear a shirt that had Kamen Rideo with a big face in it. I would wear the corned beef shirt, though. I would wear that corned beef shirt.
What did you think of the fight?
The fight was really good. I really enjoyed it. I liked kind of the little layers of understand. Sure, he's done the tutorial, but he's like doing his real first fight. So he's kind of. It was the jump, I think, when he was fighting the guy, jumped out of the way, looked around like, oh, there's just open air. Oh, I'm on top of the roller coaster. Oh, I can jump good now.
Then he grabs his boots and he's like, oh, he's really good.
Look at these great legs I have now.
But there's a point where you bond with the audience in that degree, where you're just laughing. But then, clearly the stunt actor jumps off the top of the roller coaster and kicks that guy.
Kicks him real good. He blocks all his beam and he gives him a big kick. And then the other boys jump in and they're swamping him. And the girl, who's the president's secretary, whose name I haven't caught yet, says, I have this for you, and throws in the briefcase, which he proceeds to hit a few guys with. No, it doesn't. First it hits him in the face.
It hits him in the face.
I laughed my fucking head off.
I giggled like a loon at that.
Catch this. Okay. Twang. Like, I thought that was really cool.
And then she's like, oh, I'm really sorry, Master Arto. And yeah, there's even a bit on that regard where There's two more fantastic comedy bits in the fight. There's the one bit where the praying mantis is throwing out those green arc beams at him, and cars and buses start like flying up, and he jumps through the bus, and then rings the stop bell before he goes through the window, and just like bus is stopping.
Crash!
Superb. And then there's the bit where he does the big rider kick towards the end, and he skids through all of the concrete and then twists his ankle and just goes rolling into a load of dirt.
Completely biffs it right at the end. I like that. I like that he can fuck up. I enjoy that tremendously. I like my heroes to be a bit goof.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that the prophecy that the intro music, when he changed, becomes the move that he did. He jumped to the sky and then did a rider kick.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Also, that to go back, that moment where the grasshopper is deflecting all of those bullets and it's just bouncing around him, and he's still in the motions of doing like the henshin stuff. It was just really down. It's just they were confident enough to just pause their hero there and just have a big electronic grasshopper bounce around the scene. And I was looking at it going like, this is cool.
It's big and it's bold and it's fun. And it's like colourful as well, like really bright. Did not expect it to be so bright. I tell you what I did like as well. I like in the evil team, there's a guy that's watching it who kind of set off the comedian robot into a bad boy. So the guy that's watching up on the side has one of those, psycho-made humour gears run at him, and just without even looking, catches him, spins him around, and just shoots his head off without even looking.
But he's laughing his head off watching the fight.
Yeah.
Thinking that it's really good. And then just grabs that guy, and he was really sinister
just
as well.
Effortless.
Like where he just pulls him in and poof, you see all the guts fall out of him and stuff.
As easy as one would brush off a bit of dust from their shoulder. Just like, yep, no, not even, off you go, away with you now. Really, really good. I thought it had bags of heart. I thought it was fun. I think I like the main character. I think I like Aruto quite a lot. And I didn't like him in the first minute, and then I think I like him now. Now he's a goof, but he's got some, like, fire in him almost a bit now. And I'm looking forward to the company power dynamics. I think that'd be fun, because I think those guys have set themselves up to be really funny. Something I did like when, after the funeral of the original owner and the second in command is looking like he's going to take it over, has a giant portrait of himself raised up in front of the portrait of the old owner.
Yeah.
And then when it becomes apparent that he's not going to be in charge, the giant portrait is then taken down again. I've then remarked to Laura, I would quite like a giant portrait of myself for the house somewhere. I think that would be great.
And then Laura just lowers her own down over the top of it. I do have a theory that that when you see his dad and his dad is killed, this is Arto's dad, in the past, you see that his dad has kind of cyborg parts to him.
Yeah, headphones and like robot bits inside.
I think that, and this I have no idea about this. Just thought from the 6th watch I've done of it.
Yeah.
But I think that Arto is an artificial intelligence that's been is maybe special in the fact that he believes that he's a human boy, acts like a human boy, and he's one stage ahead of the hidden intelligence sort of androids. And I think that's why he's going to be hunted down, because he doesn't have the awareness that he is an android serving people. It's like a Pinocchio factory. He believes he's a boy. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's interesting, because that would kind of go some way to the Zero-One designation, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Model 301.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. See, I had it more pegged that the dad. I pegged the dad as a robot initially, and then kind of wrote that way because that didn't make much sense in my head. Or that maybe the dad had an injury, was put into a robot body, and I think where the big explosion happens, that's where the big wet ruined city is. Maybe Aruto was saved from there and isn't really the lead guy's grandson, possibly. He's just taken him on board because of he had a big fuck up, and he's like, oh, I have to make this right somehow. I don't know. Again, I'm just spitballing. Like, there's a lot of ways it could go, and I like. That
did like with his dad, as robotic as he seemed to us. They were like, well, what should we do? We'll put him in a blue jumpsuit. We'll give him massive boots, and we'll do something with headphones.
Yeah. It's lo-fi, but it worked.
Yeah, and this is the thing. They work on such tiny budgets on this stuff, and yet the action sequences, the choreography, and fights, like fight work. I've often looked at these shows and just gone, that's how Star Wars should move. And there's the second thing that I introduced to you for later on. There's a fight sequence in that. That's how Star Wars should move.
Yeah.
Not have like a million bits of CG and like some non-human twiddling. Like, literally, have a director that's confident enough to film an action sequence and just let the stunt team just do remarkable things. But yeah, and there was even some great shots in this. Like, there's one, I think, where he's just about to go into that first battle, where the camera's like pointing down at a diagonal, and it's almost like a comic panel because you see his forefinger right at the top. And he's just about to like run in, and then when he does run in, it's sort of following him again at a twisted angle, so you can still see the praying mantis guy at the back. And you know the choreography of the fights were great. Yeah,
easy to follow, fun to watch, inventive, lots of good stuff happening with scenery and like flipping and jumping and stuff. It's just good shit.
It's one of those things that, you know, as grim as the world can get, there's something for me with these superheroes which aren't being done in any other kind of, you know, in the West with Marvel television or even Marvel movies. There's something spontaneous and instinctive and joyous, and I like the monologues, I like the quirky comedy, and when you make me laugh with a character and you make them important with the things that they're doing, the moral choices, like the heroic choices that they're doing. When you eventually put that character in danger, or they lose somebody that they love, that's where I'll cry with that character. And if you can give me those moments close to one another, where you can have a serious scene and then there'll be something that makes me laugh, you get a show where I genuinely don't know what you're going to do. And that to me is a million times better, having that massive paint box than grim and gritty and miserable. And so you had a good time with it?
I had a good time with it, yeah. I had a really good time with it, and I'm looking forward to watching the next one whenever it comes out.
Cool, that'll be Sunday, Monday time, so I'll chuck that on the G.
Radical Brief.
Soup. And it looks like we're going to see, because the two policemen are both going to get suits. So
see, I like the two policemen because I watched this a bit with Laura. She was sort of watching over my shoulder. I went, Laura, look, which two of those police people do you think are important? Is it the ones without helmets? And it's those two. You're right. It is those two.
Because he grabbed that gun, and you could see on the preview of the next episode the kind of blue and silver suit they got, and she gets some sort of silver and orange suit, and she's like a cheetah. It looks really good. Also, did you like the thing whereby, you know, when the androids transform and they burst, the human skin bursts off them?
Oh yeah.
You see that metallic Terminator face underneath, and then it like puts that grill up on top of them.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, but the thing underneath is far cooler. But you get that thing where they do get shot or that mask gets cracked, and it looks really sinister having that metal skull underneath.
I like that it was a good signifier of these are the bad ones.
Yeah. Because
they all look like that. They all look like robot men. And it's like, these ones are evil. And I did like as well, one last point, when the comedian robot was turned into the praying mantis thing, you could still see his weird robot earphone thing sticking out the bottom of the mantis suit. I like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't just vanish, they were still there. It's like, that's cool.
Also, let's face it, when that mantis does go into that crowd, it beats the pulp out of them.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And even when it first hits Aruto, like, it sends him flying.
Through
stop
some
him coming
tables.
Back for another go.
Yeah.
Also, did you like the bit with towards the end where he realises that by being a superhero he can bring smiles to the faces of people, and there's that little girl that says like, will the theme park be shutting down? He was like, no, there's somebody that's a mysterious yellow hero that came to help us out, and we're going to stay open. And then he looks at Aruto and gives him that wink.
I would say that is a man that doesn't know how to wink, but I got
That's
where
true.
he was coming from. That was a bad wink.
It's true, but it was still one of those moments where it was a signifier for your hero, that your hero has arrived. They realise that they're going to do heroic stuff, and it's a very like core Stan Lee feeling, where somebody's brought into being a hero and they accept that they're going to do it for better or for worse. And he's a likable lad. I want to laugh with Aruto. I want to see him get the different powers to turn into. I think there's we'd seen Grasshopper in one of the previews. I think Hawk is one of the next ones.
I saw Cheetah. I saw Wolf Bullet.
Those are the policemen.
Okay. I just saw what I saw in the ending credits.
Wolf Bullet is an amazing name for a hero.
Yep.
But to me, there's something in these shows that just makes me happy, and I can't emphasize enough how that appeals to my world and how that diffuses the everyday. And it's cool to see that you managed to get that same sort of fizz and fire, and also see what I've been sort of glomming onto these last number of years as well.
I finally found my in. Only took 4 years.
Yeah, but when these things happen. So
I'm glad it did.
So this left you with a choice of something for me to watch, and your choice was...
Well, I had to think about this because I wasn't sure what to get you to watch, because as we mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure if I should say, hey, watch JoJo, in case you weren't into it. And again, I'd forgotten you to watch some of it. But it's like, but if you hate it, or if you don't like it, and I do love it, that'll upset me greatly. But then I thought, hang on a second. I used my brain for the first time in quite a long time. I thought, he's been listening to a lot of the K-pop.
I have.
At the end of work and whatever.
One of my colleagues is like really big into K-pop, and I was like, put on the K-pop bangers, because the work playlist is atrocious, and when we hack the system at the end of the day, let me tell you that you mop a floor with a certain degree of glee when Red Velvet are on, or Mitzi or stuff like that. So
me likey.
Honestly, I love it.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
So I thought, hang on, I've got a win here. There's a show that I liked last year, which I think I might have given my best telly of last year on our Game of the Year show.
Pitch it to the people.
Idolish 7, you boy. Idolish 7 is a boy anime about a bunch of boys who create a band. And then it's their story through their introduction and their debut, and like their successes and their failures and stuff. It's essentially an idol show, and I had never seen one before this, and I think we put it on the list. Honestly, we were going through Crunchyroll one day, as we want to do every few months, and we just kind of go through everything new and go, that looks interesting, stick it on the list. Go on, that looks interesting, stick it on the list. And we'll just anything that jumps out, we'll go boom, 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 and just slap a load of stuff on the list. And we were going through, and I looked at it, and I looked at the name, I thought, that looks dumb. Go on then. And Laura's like, really? I went, I'll just put it on the list, because I was naive. I thought I'd put it on there for the lols. I thought it might be a bit rubbish. We'll get 1 or 2 episodes out of it, laugh at it, and put it off. Was not expecting how wholesome it would become. Immediately. Oh no, even as far as halfway through episode 1, I looked at Laura when we watched this originally. I was like, we have to keep watching this, don't we? Oh no, I'm invested. Uh-oh. So Idolish 7 is an idol show about a boy band, which is rarer than the girl band ones, from what I understand. But I must confess, I've only watched one other idol show after this, and that was the one with zombies in it. So mileage may vary. It is 7 guys who don't know each other and brought together. The manager is the daughter of the company president, and she's been given her first task to manage this team of boys. And she meets them, and they're all playing basketball. And she's like, "Oh wow, they're all so much in sync." It's like, "Oh yeah, we've only just met today." It's like, "Oh okay then." And you kind of get flashes of their different personalities as they go. And then the manager, the boss of the company, tells the manager, whose name I've completely forgotten, that she has to choose 3 of the boys because 7 is too big a number. We can't do that. Which kind of forms the crux of the whole first episode, really, doesn't it? And as things go, we kind of get a few more hints about them. We get a few things that are going to come up a little bit later. Not going to say much more than that for you for the time being. And she decides, actually, do you know what? I love all these boys. They've all got their own qualities. They all need to be in the band. I'm going to fight for this. And she presents this to her father. And he says, yep, that's what I thought you'd say. Did it. Well done. You passed the test. Like, you dick. You dick. You knew. Oh, you dick.
I think he leads into that with, I'm not sure if it's this episode or if it's episode 2, where he's like, I'll have to have cutbacks. And like his assistant is just like, I can make you sandwiches at home.
Yeah, that's episode 2, I think that one comes up.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, I was invested at the point where she said, we have to choose 3 of the 7. And I heard myself go, no. Already, like, oh no, I like them all, though. They're all good.
You must have a favourite, though.
Yeah, I have 2 favourites.
You're only allowed 1.
Don't make me.
I've just done it.
Both boys have good points. Okay, well, I will say my favourite boy, overall, best boy.
Obviously, you're further down the line than I am.
Yeah, hate you. I've watched the whole season. It's good. I would say my favourite boy is Yamato, who is the green Power Ranger in this rainbow of boys. They all have their own colour. He is the green one. He is slightly older than the others. He has glasses. He's very cool and professional. And when offered the chance, you know, when she says, I can only choose 3, we have to have auditions, he says, cool, all right, I'm out.
I got you.
Like, no, where are you going? He's like, nah, it's fine. I don't want to have my place because one of you got kicked out. I don't want this. Like, oh, you're a good boy. And he remains a good boy.
I will say the blonde-haired boy, I think he's great.
He's my number 2!
Yeah, I really, really liked him.
So the blonde-haired lad, his name is Nagi, and he's not from Japan. He's a foreigner, which is why he speaks a bit strange. And he adds a very interestingly accented des on the end of almost everything he says.
He's great. He's really charming.
He's wonderful.
I loved him to pieces.
And one of the other boys, at one point when they were having a discussion, says to him, your face is so beautiful, my heart might stop.
Oh, you see, I like lines like that.
I love it.
I genuinely do.
I wrote it down, and I think it was Yamato. I wrote it down. It was Yamato, my best boy, who said that to your best boy. And if that's not poetic, I don't know what is.
Hold on. If we're going into various little quirks in this bit, I would just say to you, the obsession with magical Kokona is wonderful and had me beaming. But also the line, 7 samurai are better than 3 little pigs.
Yep. Yeah,
I wrote those
really
down because I was just like, you know, in a very dramatic fashion, licks end of quill, dips it into ink.
Well, that was a nice callback because at the start, the daddy, the owner of the company, says to her, you know, we need to cut the boys back. The 3 musketeers are cooler than the 7 dwarfs. And then she fires back with that, and you're like, oh, that's really clever.
Yeah, well played.
She's done you, Dad, with your weird rabbit pet that's not a real thing. Just the only thing in the world that doesn't make any sense, this weird rabbit thing.
But that's an anime thing. They've got to have a floof that they can sell. I understand this.
Who goes,
that's fine.
Every now and again. Yeah, whatever. It's good. Yeah, you get kind of like hints with the boys as well. Yamato as well, like, oh, why are you here? And he says, revenge. Like, oh, okay. Did not expect that answer out of you. The dancer guy, Tamaki, who's really into Osama pudding.
Oh yeah, you stole my pudding.
Yeah, that does not let up. Ever. The boy likes his pudding. But yeah, when I remember I first watched this through, I think we watched 2 or 3 episodes in a row. By the time we caught up, I think we were 3 episodes from the end. By the time we were up to date with like release dates, so we were then having to wait a week. And after binging the series in 10 sessions, and they're like, got to wait a week now to watch my sweet show. Oh no. Yeah, it was a little bit weird because I've been so used to banging through stuff like this, and to have to be then caught up to release date order is very, very strange. And I found myself aching to watch the new one. It's like, nope, that's the first thing. Nope, it's out. We can put everything else on hold. We're watching this today.
So, yeah, on my subsite of choice, episodes 1 and 2 were glued together.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So that's
I have a question for you. An important question before you carry on. the songs, when they're singing in the intros and stuff, were they subtitled for you?
I didn't have any intros in the 1 and 2.
Not prancing around in an airport.
No, I presume that'll be in episode 3.
That is on the crunch. Maybe they've been cut differently, because there is a spectacular intro scene which you should have seen at this point. Because I watched it today.
I'd imagine that because this is from a sub-site, that they maybe aired 1 and 2 in this way together in Japan. Because it makes sense. Because, there was no way that I could walk away from episode 1 and just leave it at that anyway. Because I liked it. I'd started to like those boys a lot. There was a lot of heart in there, and by the end of it, I was like, yeah, but also I haven't heard them sing yet.
Very true. Yeah.
And so it literally was like a 45 minute episode, the one that I was watching. So it literally cut straight into like them going onwards. There wasn't an end credit sequence or anything. It just went on. So I was like, yeah, cool. There's no way that I'm not watching at this point. So yeah, the second episode, it goes into the boys going out to promote themselves and going out to hand out flyers and starting to get a website and stuff. And they've been booked to play at a massive venue.
3,000 seats. And
they discovered that there were very, very few people that were there. And they went out, and those boys sang their hearts out. And there was a line that was something like there were only 9 people in that audience, but they made so much genuine emotion that it was as it filled the arena, and I was like, okay. And then we see the super popular group. Is it Trigger?
Their name is Trigger. You meet them earlier on in that episode, and they're like, "Hey, we're the cool hotness right now. Who's the best Trigger boy?" Very quickly.
I didn't like any of them.
He's the tanned one.
So Trigger are driving past, and they stop their car, and they're in
the middle of an argument. Like they're having a right piss at each other.
And they listen to our boys, and they listen to E85, and they go, "They're really good. Let's kill them before they get popular." And I was like, "There's no way that I'm not watching all of this now."
Yep.
You absolutely, you had me with like the heart, you had me with those boys, you had it with the bond, the song was great as well, but that bit at the end was just like, so yeah.
There's also more to that than you might think as well. There's other stuff going on. It's really good.
So, like I say, the thing that sort of sews all of that together is there was loads of heart in it. Mark Commode said there's nothing wrong with smaltz as long as it's done right. I love heart and emotion like that. And as long as it's done with sincerity and it comes from a genuine place, that's what always resonates. And, that's the case here. So I did do a little digging as well. Troika Animation, who are behind Idolish7, did CJ Fave Aldno Zero.
Okay.
Director Makoto Besho was unit director on CJ Fave Brave Story, the movie version of one of my favourite books ever. He was unit director on Oh My Goddess the movie, which is astonishing and has music by Final Fantasy genius. I can't think of his name now.
Nobuo Uematsu?
That's it, yeah. And he was also episode director of Aldno Zero for 1 and 2 as well. So yeah. I'm 100% watching more of this. I did, again, it appealed to me just through the level of sincerity, and if something makes me misty-eyed, and if I get like that emotional connection stuff. You probably heard my voice breaking up a little bit.
I heard it go. It was a CJ wobble. I heard it
when there was that line towards the end of the second episode. I really did like. I think it was what I would call a Herc moment, where I go like,
yeah.
I just got.
They're all stood around with their fists in the middle as well, And it's like, come on, inspire us. It's like, this is where it begins. For better or worse, this is where it starts. This only happens once. Let's do it.
And, this...
Love it.
One of my favourite things ever is the manga Nana, which is about two girls that meet on a train and they're going to Tokyo. And one of them is sort of quite a socialite, she's into her fashion and tans, and she's going to Tokyo because she's going to live with her boyfriend. She's going to make a way there, and her boyfriend's been studying at Tokyo University. And there's what I call Rock Nana, whose boyfriend left her to go and join up with a massive rock group, and she refused to go to Tokyo to be the dutiful girlfriend, or the dutiful wife, if you will. So she's going to Tokyo to form a band to destroy him. And the two girls end up inadvertently in the same place trying to get the same apartment, and the realtor just goes like, why don't you just share it? And they do, and they're complete opposites, but they end up getting to know each other. And the quirk is that kind of socialite Nana's favourite band are the band that Rock Nana's boyfriend joined.
Oh.
And as it goes on, it just becomes better and better and better. They did a movie. The first movie is insanely good. The second movie, which was made quickly off the back of the first one's success, is atrocious. And with the manga, the lady that wrote and drew it ended up getting seriously ill, and she stopped. She had to stop doing it, and it was doing one-piece numbers in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was literally each sort of manga book was doing about 2.3 million or something like that. It was superb. There's a new show that's just gone up in Japan recently, which is called Pure, where a bratish member of an idol group sneaks out one night and witnesses a murder.
Oh,
I'll have me some of that.
Yeah.
And then there's one that's actually on Prime Video over here, which is a girl idol. It's the Idol Master. It's the Korean version of the Idol Master,
the big one, isn't it?
Which was an anime, and that is about a really popular girl band, and the lead member dies in a car accident, and there's this sort of up and coming group, and their best singer goes and joins that band to replace her. And this group are sort of coming together and are trying to sort of find their feet again. And they discover the twin sister of that girl, who's always been really interested in doing what she did, but always pushed her sister to the forefront because she was the quieter one. And so she now looks like the dead girl from the big band, who have taken the lead girl from this other band, and now she's coming in and she's trying to follow in her sister's footsteps. The stuff I've seen is really good.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm into this stuff anyway, but super appreciate the introduction, because I properly enjoyed this. Like, there was no point where I was sitting there just kind of looking at my phone or looking at the clock or whatever. It was literally glomming onto it, grinning at these boys, getting misty-eyed a number of times. The CJ wobble is there. You heard it.
I found it. I heard it.
Yeah.
I like as well. I think you will find with it as well. Like, as these boys become friends and they get to know each other better as well. It's just the way their relationships evolve is really, really cool. I quite like in the second episode when they're taking shots for the website saying, "So what do you like? What are you into?" And I think the lead character says what he's into, and then Iori, who's the grumpy one's like, "Wow, yeah, really cool." Like, completely deadpan off camera. Like, yeah, really good. I like that he's into really sharp stationery. So go on, take this seriously. No, really. Bury me in a room with sharp stationery.
You see, I like it. This, to me, is writers having fun. It's people doing things to keep themselves amused. It's not going through focus groups. It's not like, what will the people like? It'd be like, I think this is really stupid and cool and quirky and daft, and this makes me giggle, so I'm going to draw and write it.
The irony is, it's a show about a thing that, an industry itself that is almost focus group to death anyway. Like, to be an idol band, you have to tick a lot of boxes. You have to do things a certain way to get noticed. But the fact that the show's kind of doing its own thing with it, it's like, that's really cool.
But I noticed that this was, with my research, this was actually based on a phone game. And the phone game was so popular that when they released the songs on an album, it broke the top 10. The album broke the top 10.
I tried to download that. It's not on the UK store on my phone. I did try and find it a while ago.
I feel you entirely, because I've been listening to like so much K-pop. There's a part of me that just goes, there's got to be a Korean version of Just Dance. And whilst I'm not interested in, like, shaking my booty to any of the stuff that I've seen on the videos over here, Mamma Mia, let me get twice on there. I'll learn those dances. I will mop to those dances. I said to the lass at work that puts on these mixes, I was like, the next time that we all get together for a meeting, I was like, we can bang these out, we can walk down the cafe, we'd just be like doing the moves. So that's my squad goal going into old age, to learn the moves for one of these.
I can definitely say that I've never, ever, ever put on the Idolish Ever music in the kitchen and danced around while cooking, with Laura just looking at me like, what are you doing? Never done that.
This is super why we get on.
Yeah.
Also, I do like synchronized dancing anyway, and one of the things that it's not been in this show but is sort of a staple of Super Sentai is all the cast will get together on the end sequence and do a dance.
Oh, that's cool. Well, if it didn't cut off the intro for episode 2, you would have seen that.
Yeah, but
that is precisely what happens in the intro. It's really good.
I like the way that it was glued together with that 1 and 2, because it means that episode 3, I'm on a level, and it's not shown me the boys singing and dancing. I had to wait until the end of episode 3 for that, and it was good because there was that level of sort of pleasure delay, if you will, where I really wanted that, and I thought it was confident storytelling that they really let me love them as people and build up that desire to want them to sing. And the point where they actually put that performance on was the first point where I heard them. So essentially, I was one of the people,
the 9 people.
Yeah, I was in there with the 9, which is
waving your glow sticks.
I would, Jesus Christ, we both would have been.
Yeah.
Something
you didn't notice as well, one little thing, the little pose they do at the end, where they kind of throw their hand forward in like a finger gun and lean it forward. They're making a number 7 with their hand.
Right. That I'll learn.
Yeah. I've never done that in the kitchen.
No, that comes across.
Never. Lies.
In backwards land.
But I hope that you fall into it like I did, because it sounds like you have already, which is great. It's just so wholesome. It's the wholesomest ass. And then me and Laura sat there and burned through that thing as fast as we could.
Cool.
Oh, there's actually there's after that there's a one-off about Trigger that was up about a few months after the show was up, and then there's also a YouTube Red, so the paid-for YouTube thing series about Trigger as well.
Because I noticed there's another series that's up.
Before the Radiant Dawn or something. I don't think it's on Crunchy. I think it's on YouTube Red, and it might be on your subsites. Maybe that's probably where you found it from. But that I haven't watched that yet. But I want to, because I watched the one-off special. That was really good, and I just haven't been able to find the second series or the kind of the spin-off series, I guess, just yet. But I want to, because the Trigger Boys develop in their own way as well.
Yeah,
which is fun. It's a good show.
So in this sort of swap club, I'd offered you 22 minutes of entertainment. And I joyously, mind you, dived into twice that. So decided that you owed me, hence I played a mighty card, a CJ All-Timer, something that I've always thought that you might quite enjoy. And was called, and I quote, a spicy bitch, as soon as you saw that this was on the G drive. So I introduced you to Kazoko Sentai Gokaiger, or PIrate Sentai Gokaiger. What do you know about this to call me a spicy bitch when you were? When you
talked about this before. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
We've definitely. Cause I remember you breathlessly telling me that the captain was called Captain Marvelous.
Yeah, or if in the Western version when they cut it for Power Rangers Super Megaforce, which let's face it is a shit title compared to PIrate Sentai Gokaiger.
Why would you not include the name pirate in there anywhere?
But
they're literally on a pirate.
Why would you change Captain Marvelous to Troy Browning?
Fuck off. Really?
Seriously.
Why would you do that?
And with a generic, slick-haired back boy, whereas Captain Marvelous looks like a grumpy cunt.
Is a swag nasty piece of shit.
Absolutely. There's something kind of don't know. There's a certain energy about him. And that's what I love. But
I like it. So my history with, I mean, you've mentioned it a few times in the past, and again, I've always been maybe a little warier of Sentai, and I suppose Kamen Rider as well, because from remembering what I watched when I was little, I as every person of my age did, watched Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a child. Thought it was okay, I've watched a few episodes back these days, and God, the acting is very bad. Of the US version, I've never seen the Japanese. I understand they cut the fights out and shoot the people bits separately, don't they?
Yeah, they so to the uninitiated, who I hope are going to hunt down some of these episodes. They take the fight sequences from Super Sentai, they write different stories around them, get American actors, and plug those fight sequences into the various Power Rangers iterations of them, which aren't connected to anything. The stories are radically different, and oftentimes the way that they carve these series up into just the fight sequences, you'll find that in the past there's been, say, 2 Super Sentai series which end up becoming kind of one series in America. Because I think there was Power Rangers Megaforce, and then Super Megaforce were Gokaigers, which is the sort of, it was like an angel Super Sentai, which I haven't seen, but that then Gokaigers becomes like Super Megaforce, and it's essentially the same characters but with like different powers and stuff. As far as I'm aware,
smushed it all up. Yeah, that's weird. I used to like the Rangers when I was younger, as you do. I had the Megazord, as every kid did. I used to think Tommy was cool, and that was about it. Really, for mine and Power Ranger stuff, and I suppose Sentai stuff. Let's call it Sentai stuff from now on. I'd always been a bit wary of it, because again, they all kind of seemed quite similar from the outside. It was, 4 or 5 colourful people beat up some monsters. That's how I always viewed it from the outside. Obviously, I know you've delved in a lot harder than I have, so you've probably got the broader range of it than I had. But from the outside, that's what it always seemed to be, at least. And again, none of the kind of series had ever kind of done enough different in my external eyes to kind of make me think, maybe. This is probably the only one that I've been interested in based on the kind of the previews, things that you've shown me and the things I've Googled. Because now they're pirates. I was like, that's a bit different. That's not normal.
I mean, again, it's one of those things where certain years will catch fire and certain ones won't. So it depends on how far I pursue them as to how much I like them.
Well, I think with the year being a thing, that's quite interesting, because that kind of leads on quite well to kind of my first kind of thoughts of it, because this is the 35th
Yeah, this is
season or anniversary, or
this is an anniversary show. So,
yeah. So it opens with this humongous fight. Was that a fight from the last season?
It was from a movie that because they always in Super Sentai they always do this thing whereby there will be and I think this is super cool. There will always be the 40 odd episodes, and then you get various movies along the way. And then in the final movie that follows the end of the series, or is a few weeks before the end of the series, there will be a fight sequence where the characters from the next series turn up.
Oh, okay.
and you go like, oh my god, they're really cool. Look at them. All right, it starts next week. Cool. And in this one, it was a movie where all like there was this invasion force, and they were attacking the Earth, and this invasion force was massive, and all of the Super Sentai, and we're talking no CG, we're talking like 100 people in a quarry, all dressed up in brilliant costumes, all put their powers together to destroy this alien race that were trying to destroy Earth, but in turn lose all of their powers. And as it then goes into Gokaigers, the alien force, the Zanyak, are coming back, and there are a group of pirates called Gokaigers who have a chest full of these Ranger keys, and these Ranger keys basically contain the powers of Super Sentai characters, and they can plug them into the belt, and they can assume the physicality, the powers, the abilities of those characters. Plus, as the series goes on, it means that you'll meet special guests every now and every odd episode, and they will grant them the abilities, to use their powers and stuff. And in this case, the pirates are determined to get their revenge on the Zanyak, which you find out within the little individual episodes and why they've kind of bonded with Captain Marvelous, and all of those episodes are phenomenal, like really dark, really brilliant. And when the Gokaigers arrive on Earth, they're looking for the greatest treasure in the universe, and finds their quest spoiled by the returning Zanyak invasion force. So you've got Captain Marvelous, who's Gokai Red, the brash and cocky captain of the Gokai Galleon and team leader, according to Wikipedia. Joe Gibcon, Gokai Blue.
I love that his name's Joe.
Absolutely.
I pissed myself when he said his name. I was really just out of the ordinary, just like, hang on, Joe.
I think his like origin episode is about episode 2 or 3, and it's belting. There's a fight sequence in it. My God. So Joe is the calm and serious but loyal first mate. Luca Milfi, Gokai Yellow, a greedy and tomboyish girl, and the ship's lookout. I have world-ending crushes on Luca Milfi. I think she's amazing, and her actress is now almost exclusively in anime. She's a really big anime actress.
Okay.
There's Doc, Gokai Green, the ship's often timid mechanic and cook, and then Ahim de Famil, Gokai Pink, a polite but headstrong princess of another world and new to piracy. And later they're joined by utterly manic Super Sentai superfan Ikarai Guy.
Oh no.
Yeah, who drives Captain Marvelous bonkers.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
who's your favourite? I mean, from my initial episode 1, I think Captain Marvelous is amazing. As just a grumpy sod. I like the look of Doc, but I don't like that he's a bit of a wuss. But in terms of look, he's got red hair, he's got a really cool green jacket, he's got a cool checky shirt. It's like, I'd wear all those things.
He looks like a Doctor Who, like Doc does. But I quite
that's what it is.
Yeah, and I quite like the fact that oftentimes he will be seemingly, like in the early episodes especially, he'd be like the timid one or the one that like questions it. There's always the close-ups of him going like, huh? But in the fight sequences, you will often see him like doing people in almost by accident, and I kind of quite dig that. Like where he lands on the sort of telephone pole in this one, and he's just bouncing about, and just like every down sort of bit on this telephone pole, he's just like smacking people in the face and stuff. I love them all. I genuinely love them all. For different reasons, but when you get to their backstories, they're amazing. The way that I think Joe loses his brother, and there's him and Captain Marvelous, and Captain Marvelous they end up building this bond to try and get clear. Luca was on a planet where she was hunting for food, I think, and she was helping the poor. And something happened within that. and Ahim Famil loses her entire planet. CJ Wobble.
It happened again.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
So yeah, when you get the backstories of the cast, they're really good, and they're more than just kind of the snarky pirate team, but you also see like a huge amount of heart to them, and the way that they pull together, and there's genuine banter between them.
I even get that a lot in episode 1. Like there was a fair bit going on, and I liked that they kind of already seemed to be a team and friends and know each other and like had worked together and what are a team essentially. They already have that chemistry, which was cool to see.
Yeah. Did you like the bit where, because the opening episode has the Gokai Galleon coming to Earth and requesting to know where the greatest treasure in the universe is,
and they were like,
they go up on top of the building and they're like, and I think it's him, Diffamil just goes like, people of Earth. And they were like, we've really got no idea what you're talking about. They were like, oh, and like everybody in the crowd then goes, just like shakes their head.
Yeah, you commoner, where is the greatest treasure?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And so they ask Captain Marvel what he's going to do, and he's like, going to go for a curry.
Yeah,
and they all end up in the curry house, and like they
a cheap curry house, it should be said as well.
Yeah, well they send like. Luca goes like, well, what are we going to do for money? And he was like, that ring on your finger. And she's like, huh? And she ends up sort of selling the ring, but they still go to a cheap curry house. And they're just about to eat when the Zangiak start blowing things up.
And they decimate the pub they're in, but they all just sit there like, okay.
But again, there was a real silent comedy to that. You see the explosion happen, and they're still sitting there, except money's all over the place. They're all still sitting in the same position, and I think Captain Marvelous's spoon is bent.
Yeah.
And he's furious because he was. In fact, they were all up for that curry. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And it then goes into an amazing fight sequence where you see the Zangiak and they're threatening people, and you just see Captain Marvelous just goes, I don't like this. And that's the point where he moves in, and it's everybody, they're just standing there and they're all going like, well, it looks like Earth's going to be a colony. It's not going to come back from this. And then you see like the mum of that kid getting threatened, and Marvelous just going like, nah. And then the big music kicks in, and all that Tarantino cool is going dun 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 dun, and you just see them walking slowly.
Yeah.
And like Marvelous sort of shoots the gun out of like the Zangiak guy's hand, and you just like.
I will say, as they're walking in slowly, you get a chance to appreciate how good all the coats are.
The costuming in all of these shows are amazing.
I like all of the coats. They're all good. You know what I'm like for a coat anyway.
100%. And also, they're not in those same clothes throughout the series. Like
cool.
they have variations on those. Like Marvelous has variations on like shirts and coats, and they all have little sort of strange interplays on the stuff that they've got. But also when they do transform. And they do the Gokai change all simultaneously. That transformation sequence where they're in the black suits and they're like, and the bits start landing on them. It's just like, fucking hell.
Really, really good. I liked how much shenanigans there were in the fight as well. So they start kicking off against all of these alien dudes. And like they're throwing swords to each other. They're swapping weapons around.
How well directed is that?
Really cool.
How well thought is that? It's just... And the way these things are directed, like, they know how to hold a shot and just let their actors move and let their actors fight. And when they do need to move the camera, it will be to follow somebody. And there's this real fluidity about it. But the director doesn't appear to be showing off, but within not showing off, he's actually showing he's a really good storyteller.
You kind of see. Like the different ways they all fight as well. Like there was enough distinction between them, or they weren't just like the same fight but in a different colour. They had their own styles. Like I liked when the yellow Luca, that's it.
Yeah.
When she kind of took the two swords and kind of swapped her gun with the princess, and says, "You have that, I'll have your sword." I was like, oh, but we just did this a minute ago, and then proceeds to like whip them around like chains, like fucking Kratos.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, that's different. I'll take that. That's brilliant. And then the way that the princess and Doc, when they both had the two guns, fight with them in completely different ways. Again, his is more of that big goofball, kind of swinging on a big swing and then coming back in and shooting them all as he comes back, and she's kind of doing more almost gun fu, like Equilibrium.
There's somebody, I forget who it is, somebody kicks a gun to the other one. That was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, kicking a gun, like they were playing football with the spare gun.
Yeah.
It's like, that's... And I don't mean this in the best way. That's really dumb.
Yeah,
I love that.
I know you read that in the best way. But then they get overwhelmed, so they decide to use some of the Ranger keys. And as part of this, they turn into one of the original... I think the original Super Sentai team, which was never came to the West. And that's, there's a lot of 70s weirdness in this with the team kicking kind of an American football bomb across.
Yeah, this is when Laura gave up and left. This is when she's like, nah, can't do this one, I'm out.
And then turned into, it's probably the weirdest thing that I've seen in the series, but I think they were giving a nod back to something really daft.
Because they even shouted it out like, trash compactor bomb. Oh, okay, what's that about? And they throw this comedy missile, like a big, like a Fallout Fat Man nuke missile, like this comedy rainbow missile, kicking it between each other, getting them around. And then it turns into a trash compactor.
Yeah, and sucks all the enemies into the back.
And then it just drives away. Just stand there, mouth on the, jaw on the floor. Like, why?
I get the feeling that because so many of the people that work on these shows are huge fans of the series, they were going like, right, well, what's the first transformation going to be? And it's like, well, it can only be sort of the Jakku, I think it is. And then, well, what are we going to do? And then somebody shouts that one out as a laugh, and they're going like, what, are you writing that down? Oh, yeah, there's no way we're not doing that, mate.
We've already filmed it. It's filmed it. We've done it. It's now.
That was bizarre at the time. As a kid, I accepted it, but it's definitely going in episode 1. And in the West, that sort of thing would never have gone in. But looking at this, and it is probably the weakest moment of the series that I've seen, but it's one of those things where it clearly comes from a place of love. And
there is somebody watching who watched the original series, like that's not for us. That moment is for the people who watched it. That's for them to pop. See, because they're changing into different Sentais as it goes on. When they change into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers suits, that's when I'll go, oh.
Oh, that's
the one I know.
Those are in the first 10. They also did a thing later on where when Gokai Silver comes into it, Ikarai Guy, the actor who plays him is in himself a big Super Sentai fan, and the first transformation he makes into a past Sentai is his favourite one when he was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
And when they presented the suit to him, because I think he gets he saves a little girl from being run over, and he goes into the afterlife, and he's met by 3 Super Sentai characters from Legend who basically say, we're going to send you back as a Super Sentai. And that, like I say, when the first transformation is the actual actor's favourite from when he was a kid,
that's cool.
That to me is the people that are behind it just going like, we want everybody to love this as much as we do. Plus, especially an anniversary show like this, but in general as well, you're getting parents that are watching these shows with their kids, and there's something for everybody in there. And it's not trying to be grim and gritty and adult and resonant, and it's just trying to do a good family show, but with the ambition of being a superhero show. And that, you don't get that kind of ambition in the West, especially not on these budgets. Jesus Christ, not on these budgets.
I will say, I think the only thing that I think missed for me when I was watching, I didn't like the Zord. I didn't like the big robot. It's the only thing that didn't hit.
Some of the
Does that get more practical as it goes on? Because I liked it when it was the practical man in a suit for a few seconds, but it wasn't that very long. It was mostly the CG, and I know that's because they're having a big space battle, and there's only so much you can do in a big space battle with a man in a suit. But like that's the only thing I looked at. I thought that was a bit busy for me.
I mean,
I didn't.
It's one of the weaknesses of these shows at times, that particularly Super Sentai, whereby I love the practicality of the blokes in like the Zord suits, and when it goes into CG, especially because this is a good few years ago now, it looks a little bit PS3.
And
especially
having come off watching again, I've sort of been half watching with Laura the Netflix Voltron stuff.
Yeah.
That's been so good. Very good.
But yeah, I think it's an ambition thing matched with budget, matched with not really having the technology for it at that point.
Yeah, totally.
And if you go further back into Super Sentai history, where there's a real lack of CG and loads of practical, it stands the test of time better than these modern day effects. I think it was like Time Ranger has them going through where the ship emerges from a tunnel, all like Super Thunderbirds type stuff. Ship emerges from underneath the ground into this tunnel and is then knocked by a giant robot with a hammer through time.
Oh.
I'll have that every day of the week, thank you very much. And I think they're coming back around to a lot of this stuff. Like the newest one at the minute, Zoo Ranger, has got some really fantastic like practical stuff in there, but with one of the sort of creatures that makes up like the Zord, but the other ones are CG, and you can see why they've done them CG, because they don't move in the same way as like the main one does. But you kind of go, please don't.
I think it's why like you said, Thunderbirds. Why I think Thunderbirds looks better to watch now than say Reboot. And Reboot looks cool, but Thunderbirds visually is just like better to look at, even though it's just puppets and the occasional close-up shot of a human hand pushing a button slowly.
Because you see, there's a thing in Ultraman again whereby if you're watching it and you're looking at certain monster suits as well, you'll go, that's a bit rubbish. But they're using the actual monster suits from like the 50s. Like they're actually using those original designs. They've not gone, we should really rethink that, because they just are celebrating the legacy. So the newer suits look better than the older suits. And there was one episode recently where there was a monster that was attacking this. It had been taken over and it was attacking this this factory. And I think in this factory was lots of chocolate. And the main guy, when he was little, finds this little baby monster that he fed chocolate, and he used to try and teach him words. And Ultraman tries to stop him kind of destroying the city, but ends up sort of figuring it out that he's this little monster that he knew when he was little. And the monster when he was little was literally a hand puppet, more or less a hand puppet. But you take it in your stride that like this is what they're doing. And within each series, oftentimes the use of that monster can change. But again, they seem to be celebrating the legacy, and Ultraman's, the effects in that are beyond anything for me at the minute, because they're just these huge sets and they're being built, and they seem to be getting better and better with that. So
nice.
But yeah, so you like the chemistry between the team, and I always thought that you'd like Marvelous especially.
Yeah, he's my kind of dickhead so far. I like it.
And they've brought him back sort of a few times afterwards as well. They've brought him back for the 40th anniversary special, which was it Zero-Go, I think, at that point. They had sort of a crossover with Gokaiger's like coming into it, which was really good. And he was recently in They did sort of an equivalent of like an Infinity Gem thing with this, all of the Super Sentai teams throughout time being brought together, like a Secret Wars sort of thing. They've been brought together to fight to see who is the strongest. And whilst everybody's there, is just like, oh, you know, it's really nice to meet you and stuff, and we're going to go into these fights. Marvelous is just like, something not right here. I don't trust it. And he's the one that's like super skeptical about all of it. And that was only sort of 4 episodes between Lupin versus Patranger ending and sort of the new one starting. But they were great, and it was always great to see Marvelous again, because I love how grumpy he is. I love it. But he brings out the best in people, and he's fiercely loyal. And the actor seemingly will always come back to play him, because I think he really likes playing him.
Kind of like Hugh Jackman and Wolverine.
Yeah, and there's something else that I really loved as well. All of the Gokaiger movies were brilliant, but one of my favourite plot points ever was the movie crossover with the original 80s Space Sheriff Gavan.
Oh, you told me about this.
It's a beauty. So when Gavan is captured and thrown into the inescapable prison in the Mako dimension, how do the Gokaigers have any hope of getting him out? By finding 2 characters from different series, played by the same actor, and using them to open a portal to the Mako prison to help get Gavan free. And at the end of the film, like Icarai Guy's going mad because all 3 of them are there, and they're like, you know, we do look alike. And then like Icarai Guy's like, oh, we've transformed together. And they were like, yeah, all right then. And the end of the film is them just standing at the top of this staircase and all transforming into their relevant characters.
Nice.
I love that so much.
It's fun.
It's the most doofy and brilliant. And you can imagine the writers just sitting down just going like, this will be great.
I've got an idea. Now hear me out.
And nobody's gone, it's not very realistic, is it? So yeah, I kind of dig that stuff.
Yeah, that's not what this kind of telly's about. This telly's about joy.
I think that's it.
Joy. Yeah.
I think that's the wrap up sort of thought through all of it, that there's just something pure in it and ambitious, and it's not afraid to be silly, to have long monologues, to have those super dramatic moments, and think that it's going to shed its audience. Because I think when you come on board these shows, you're embracing all of their quirks and all the little foibles, and but also those moments where they absolutely shine, where they do something wonderfully special. And when you see those over and over again, it means that you can look at certain TV and like certain Western stuff and just thinking like, this has been combed over and rewritten, and just give me somebody's vision, just give me something wild and electric, and I'll always dig that more than the other stuff.
It's almost very similar to our kind of, you know, recent enjoyment of what I would consider a B game, letting it be what it is, rather than getting focus tested to death like the AAA stuff that we tend to bounce off quite hard these days.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in a zone at the minute, but it's been fun doing the swap season, I must admit. Also, can we just give a little bit of a nod and the wink to the end of that Gokaigers episode, where the parents and the kids, after being saved by the Gokaigers, go to thank them, and they basically shrug it off and just go like, "Don't thank us. We're only doing it because we're annoyed." So you really got nothing to thank us about, and then they all go like walking off. Brilliant.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Didn't
I was like,
even accept the plaudits.
It's like, but you saved us. No, we didn't.
Nah,
having a bad day.
Just annoyed.
I like that.
Yeah,
pure marvelous that.
And the writer of Gokaigers went on to do this kind of this bizarre sort of Super Sentai spin-off, which was genuinely weird and genuinely funny, about a guy who is obsessed with superhero stuff and will spend all of his money on it, and he just works as like a bike messenger, and he's brought together into a super team with a number of other people who it's believed like it's implied that there's an enemy there, but they're told by the person that brings them together that it's all based on their delusions, and they're just a little bit bonkers.
Oh.
And it's fantastic. It's really funny. There's an episode where they all get drunk to see if there is actually anything out there, and to see if they fight better because they're more delusional when they're drunk. And it's just super weird and utterly brilliant, like genuinely funny. And written by the guy that wrote Gokaigers. But yeah, that leans hard into Super Sentai kind of tropes and anime tropes, like in a big way, sort of like you're easily going to get destroyed because you were just mentioned in a footnote by the main baddie. He was like, what, really? Just like you get the bad guys like getting it's super weird, but that sounds fun. Again, give me that stuff, because that's the sort of stuff that makes me go, yeah, I'm going to watch all of this. This is superb. It's been a good natter. I've enjoyed it, and thank you very much for introducing me to Idolish 7, because I am gonna main that.
I figured you'd like it, but given your recent K-popping, I was like, yeah, we found it. This is in. I've got it. So
it's been a good swapsy, and I hope you had fun with the other two as well.
I very much enjoyed Kick Boys.
So, but it's weird, the differential between Western superheroes and Japanese superheroes, I think. As much as I
I look forward to discovering over the coming weeks.
I see what you did there.
Oh,
right. It's good to catch up as well, because we haven't had a proper chat in a while, because things have gone bonkers with
everything.
Your, and I hope I hope to the audience, if you're listening to this, that you'll try and track down the episodes. I can always give a link to people that want to watch them, but also this is two people nattering about stuff that you might not know about. But if it's sort of caught fire under you and you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, that sounds really fun, I like my twin Humanities gentlemen like getting wound up about this sort of stuff, then that's great.
Do you not think we need to be more relevant? Do you not think we can sit here and argue about Game of Thrones for 3 hours?
Well, I'll put on Gears 5, and we can be one of those podcasts that talks about it. Everybody's going to be talking about that.
I like the new stuff. That's the important stuff.
Yeah, it brings me back to, what is it, the Red Letter Media stuff where they do the Nerd Crew, where they're all it's like a piss take of Collider, where there are just like I think almost every episode is called the Last Jedi reaction trailer, and they're all just like very cool, and it's sort of slurping out of cups. When there's one where Rich Evans goes to make popcorn in a Death Star popcorn maker, and he ends up setting it on fire. I'm not sure he's supposed to pour the butter on there. It's just like they're all pissing themselves, and entertainment seems to be a very different thing in the West to me, and sort of owned by everybody. Everybody's sort of, I don't know, that makes me sound like a bit of a twat, but I quite like the quirky stuff.
It's more interesting.
Maybe.
Besides, I know about all the films and telly because you just look at Twitter for 5 minutes and you know all the things.
This is it, and I know on my subsites and stuff there can be a new show that pops up where you just read the premise and you go, that sounds weird. I'll have that. There's or that sounds cool, or I like that actor is really good. But I'm going to give you one of these because I'm set to watch this weekend, and I read the premise. And I was like, there are two halves to this premise where you go, huh? And then you go, what? And then I'm watching it. So this is I'm not going to give you the title of the show just yet. But a loser college student was having a really bad day. The girl he was in love with only thought of him as her bestie. And he was diagnosed with terminal cancer with only 3 months to live. So that's the first half of it, yeah?
Right, okay.
The next half of this paragraph. Then an alien life form that looks like an egg yolk snatches him. It not only cures his cancer, but it gives him superhuman abilities. But with the happy surprise came danger of extraterrestrial kind. For his friends and loved ones, he has to overcome his loser mentality and be a hero. That is Yolk Man.
What the fuck?
And literally, the poster has Yolk Man in yellow and him reaching towards this kind of Pikachu-ish egg yolk that's seemingly messing about in his apartment. I'll watch that.
Brilliant. Yolk Man. I'm typing it in. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at an image. Jesus Christ.
How can I not watch that?
That looks like a laugh.
It may well be rubbish, but you've got me on the premise of that immediately. Like,
I'm in.
It's... What? How does that get made? And thank you. And also, you know, it's something that we've discussed in the past, which has been a joining together. It was The Wandering Earth.
Yeah?
Still the best movie I've seen this year.
Brilliant film.
Yep.
Brilliant film.
It's been good to natter. It's been good to talk.
It has.
I hope this is legible to people listening.
If not, we apologise for the last 1 hour and 45 minutes of sounds that we just made.
We're essentially just having a chat together and hoping people like grin and check it out. And also big shout out. He probably won't hear this for about another 3 weeks, but
Go on, he listens faster than that. It'll be a week.
A gentleman by the name of Luke Pace-Sugrebner has been going through all of our stuff at a rate of knots and leaving us lovely comments. So thank you, Luke.
Yeah, you're making my YouTube check to upload my One Bro take 3 times longer now because I'm having to read the comments and go through and enjoy them and reply to them.
Yeah,
so,
he's a good lad.
So in a good way, that's really good. Thank you, Luke Pace. You're one of the good ones.
So we will talk about more nerd stuff soon. We'll have lots of gaming stuff soon. You know what we're like. Whenever we've got an episode for you, whenever we've got something nice to say and joyous to say, we'll burp one out.
We like to do it when we feel it's right, you know.
Yes.
We're not going to like mafia like Yakuza like strong arm you into it. No. We'll let it happen when it happens. Hey, whoa.
You've been playing that game, so maybe that's on the cards.
That's a cryptic clue.
Ooh. Anyway, cheer back, people.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.